What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. Now, the other day, I did see that Ole Anderson had passed away, but I wasn't going to do no video. I understand he was the original member of the Four Horsemen and all the other things, big in the business as a promoter and a booker and all that. But I'm sorry. From my perspective, knowing how racist that man was, perhaps the most racist wrestler in the history of the sport, ain't no way in hell I could do a video tribute to that dude. But I will do a video tribute to Michael Jones. I did not even know that he was sick because as recently as maybe 2018, 2019, I've seen him in interviews. And he was relatively young, so this shocks me. But Michael Jones, best known as Virgil in WWF and for his work with the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, has died at the age of 61. Read from an article from CBS. This article is from Brent Brookhouse. Michael Jones, who was best known as Ted DiBiase's bodyguard Virgil in WWF in the late 80s and early 1990s, has died at the age of 61. News of Jones's death has been shared by Mark Charles III, a wrestling referee and friend of Jones. Charles wrote on Facebook, "My dear friends, it is with great sorrow that I bring news from the Jones family of the passing of our beloved Michael Jones, whom we know and loved as Virgil, Vincent, Soul Train Jones, and more. Virgil passed peacefully at the hospital this morning, and I ask that you pray for him and for his family. May his memory be eternal." Jones trained with Afa of the Wild Samoans in 1985 after meeting wrestling star Tony Atlas at a gym. Jones would have his first WWF match the following year in 1986, but debuted in his most iconic role in 1987 when he was introduced as Virgil, serving as a bodyguard for the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Virgil would run interference for DiBiase, often taking beatings from babyfaces, as DiBiase would run to safety. He was not a frequent in-ring competitor and served mainly in the bodyguard/manager role, though he did occasionally compete. In 1991, Virgil turned on DiBiase, ultimately defeating his former employer at both WrestleMania and SummerSlam that year. I've always thought, and I can't quite remember what the reason was why they did that angle, but I thought it might have had to do something with the changing times. We were entering a more conscious era as a people, late 80s, early 90s, and that might have bothered him. Maybe some of the feedback that he was getting being in that subservient role. But that's just a guess of mine. People who are more knowledgeable about the history of the WWE and wrestling in general could educate me on that one. Jones would again land a prominent role when he joined WCW as a member of the New World Order in 1996, joining the group with DiBiase. In WCW, Jones went by the name Vincent and occasionally wrestled while mainly serving as muscle for the group. Jones wrestled his final match in 2020. Yeah, I knew it wasn't that long ago. And apparently, when I see cause of death, he died of dementia. He died of dementia after suffering several strokes. So this had to be recent. This had to be a recent development for him. So, man, 61 is very young. And when I look at a situation like this, a neurological condition like strokes, and I can't help but think that his career might have had something to do with either developing this condition that he ultimately died of, or at least accelerating it. Maybe, I don't know. but you do often see in wrestlers as they age neurological conditions. Um, and not just wrestlers, football players as well. Any particular sport where you take a lot of, consistent hits to the head, you see like this increase in neurological conditions, whether it's dementia, strokes, Parkinson's. I noticed that when it comes to wrestling and football players, they seem to have a higher than normal prevalence of ALS, aka Lou Gehrig's disease. So that's just my thoughts on this. Remember, rest in peace to the legendary Vincent, aka Virgil. Anybody that grew up watching wrestling in the 80s and 1990s definitely remember him. Tell me what you guys think.